Hello guys and welcome to my new video. So today I decided to have a look at Restoration Shaman advanced healing tips and tricks of how to optimize your Cloudburst Totem healing. How does tier 21 work? Maybe we'll look at some stat priorities and some legendary combinations as well. I am assuming that if you're watching this video you know the basic priorities and spell priorities for Restoration Shaman. If you don't, I do have a video that is more oriented towards beginners. Check that out and then come back to this video. This video is going to be covering some misconceptions and it'll provide you the spell priority or the spells to use to get the best raw HPS for your Cloudburst Totem, when to use your Cloudburst Totem, when to use your Legendaries and things like that. So first of all, we look at some misconceptions, and before that we look at tier 21. Because the spell priority I'm going to be talking about is heavily reliant on having tier 21 4 set. Now, tier 21 2 set, when you cast Healing Rain, up to 6 allies within its area are immediately healed. That's great, that's good to know. It's going to provide burst healing when you cast Healing Rain, and Healing Rain should be cast on as many people as possible. It does affect only 6 people though. The 4 set, Healing Wave and Healing Surge cast have a 100% chance to heal a player standing in your Healing Rain for 40% of the amount. So Healing Rain becomes like a beacon. You place your Healing Rain, and this is a misconception. You do not have to only heal the people who are standing in Healing Rain. You can heal someone who's standing outside it with Healing Wave or Healing Surge, and people who are standing in Healing Rain are going to get healed for 40%. And quite a few players didn't know this fact because they were actually placing the Healing Rains and just healing the people who are inside it. You can, like, with tier 21 4 set, you can just heal priority targets and you don't have to worry whether they're standing in Healing Rain or not. You just need to make sure that at least a couple of people are standing in your Healing Rain for your Downpour, which is your tier 21 4 set proc called, is going to do something. That's a big misconception. Also the misconception with the global cooldown tricks and tips with the Cloudburst Totem. So in the previous patches, this actually used to work. You could cast Chain Heal and then right away cast your Cloudburst Totem, and your Chain Heal, the heal portion is gonna go into the Cloudburst even before it was down. Like you place it just at the global cooldown margins. This no longer works and this no longer is viable, so you don't have to worry about making sure you place like Healing Rain or Chain Heal right before your Cloudburst. It does not go straight into your Cloudburst healing, so this kind of hack is not really there. Also the fact that your Healing Stream Totem and Healing Tide Totem do not go into your Cloudburst Totem, and this is really important because I'm going to be talking about the best raw HPS Cloudburst Rotation. So if you're looking for the best raw HPS, you're looking to save your global cooldowns, you're looking to cast spells that are going to give you the most amount of healing. So Healing Tide and Healing Stream Totem might not be in there, but in a real world scenario, in a real life scenario or World of Warcraft scenario, sometimes, you know, maybe your raid is about to die, maybe a person is about to die, and like you're not looking at the best raw HPS, you just want to save them. So, you know, you can cast Healing Stream, you can cast Healing Tide in order to save people. But if you want the best raw HPS for your Cloudburst, try and avoid these because they do not contribute to the healing, to the Cloudburst healing. So let's look at the raw HPS that you can achieve for Cloudburst healing, which might work, might not work. It really does depend on the talents that you choose. So first of all, this would probably be something of a default build. You kind of want to have Ancestral Guidance because it's so strong, especially paired up with things like Balance Legendary, which is very useful when I talk about Cloudburst. You also will want Cloudburst Totem. Cloudburst Totem is the you know, the quintessential part of Restoration Shaman healing. If you're unsure whether you want to play a Resto Shaman in Legion, if you're unsure whether you like Cloudburst Totem, then you probably should not play a Restoration Shaman because Cloudburst Totem is like a must-have as a Resto Shaman in raiding scenarios. In 5 months is a lot different. And then you have a choice between Ascendance and High Tide. Now this is a difficult choice in a lot of aspects. High Tide, like there are 3 or 4 bosses in Antorus where High Tide can be quite a good choice. But Ascendance basically is viable for every boss in Antorus. You can get away with using Ascendance for every boss in Antorus and you'll do good HPS and you'll be happy. While with High Tide, it really depends on the boss. some people don't like Ascendance and they go into High Tide, but if you use Ascendance combination with Cloudburst or Ascendance combination with Ancestral Guidance and Cloudburst, you can see some really, really good numbers and you can be the best burst healer. You believe me, you can be one of the best burst healers with this kind of combination. So we'll assume we'll give you a different rotation if you're using Ascendance and if you're not using Ascendance. So it's very, very important to consider this. During Cloudburst Totem, the 15 seconds that Cloudburst Totem is available, you want to cast the best heals possible. We're not looking at saving mana. If you're looking to save mana, you might cast Riptide, but if you're looking to get the best raw HPS, you probably won't be casting Riptide, even though Riptide gives you Tidal Waves. And Tidal Waves is really important to consider, because Tidal Waves will increase the critical effect chance of your Healing Surge. That's really, really important, because if you have your Healing Rain down, and if you have a Tidal Wave, your Healing Surge will most likely crit, and it'll heal the people, and because of tier 21 set, it will heal the people for 40% of the amount inside your Healing Rain. So what this means is that casting a Healing Surge that has Tidal Waves, and you also have your Healing Rain down, casting Healing Surge will be better than casting Chain Heal without High Tide talent. So this is really important to consider. Like I said, you want to have the most optimal spell rotation inside your Cloudburst Totem 15-second window. So with Ancestral Guidance, and let's say without high Tide. So let's say you have Ancestral Guidance and you want to use Ancestral Guidance for your Cloudburst. You're going to use your Cloudburst Totem, and then you're going to be using Chain Heals to basically get Tidal Waves. Now, you can use Riptide to get Tidal Waves, but Chain Heal will provide you with more raw HPS. So, you put down your Cloudburst Totem, you cast Chain Heals mainly to generate Tidal Waves. And when your Cloudburst Totem has 10 seconds left, 10 seconds, you will be casting your Artifact ability. And when you cast your Artifact ability, you pop your Ancestral Guidance and Valence. You should have an Ancestral Guidance and Valence macro, so you can just use one button. So, why 10 seconds? Because Ancestral Guidance has 10-second duration. Valence has a 10-second duration. And your Cloudburst Totem, when it has 10 seconds, you're casting your Artifact ability, and right afterwards, you cast your Ancestral Guidance and Valence combo. Why? Because your Artifact ability is going to be buffed by your Ancestral Guidance and Valence. There is some sort of snapshotting that still exists in this game, much to the same extent. If you cast your Chain Heal and then if you pop your Ascendance, your Chain Heal is going to be buffed by Ascendance. So you have this kind of a snapshotting thing that is still available in the game. So it's really important. When your Cloudburst Totem has 10 seconds left, you have a rotation of your Artifact ability, and then you pop your Ancestral Guidance and you pop your Valence. And once that is popped, you want to cast Healing Rain. And now you should have your 2 Tidal Wave procs, because you casted Chain Heal beforehand. So with 2 Tidal Wave procs, you want to basically spam Healing Surges, making sure that your Healing Rain is also active, because your Healing Surges crits because of Tidal Wave are going to be transferred to the Healing Rain targets as well, and it's much more optimal way of doing it. Now, when you actually run out of Tidal Waves and you don't have Tidal Waves available, cast Chain Heal and then cast Healing Surge. You kind of weave between Chain Heal and Healing Surge. You want to make sure that you only kind of cast Healing Surges when you have Tidal Wave procs available. And if you don't have Tidal Wave procs available, use Chain Heal to proc them, even without High Tide talent. But the major thing here to consider, you want to make sure you have as many Healing Surges with Tidal Waves as much as you can, while making sure that your Healing Rain is down. So this is why I mentioned 10 seconds before. When your Cloudburst Totem has 10 seconds available, you pop your Artifact ability. You pop your AG with Valence. That has 10-second duration. Valence has 10-second duration. Then you cast Healing Rain. Healing Rain has 10-second duration. So basically for the next 10 seconds, all of your Healing Surges with Tidal Waves is going to be transferred to Healing Rain targets. It is just an insane burst that is going to go into your Cloudburst Totem. And this is the fun part. When your Cloudburst Totem is about to pop, your ascendants. So first of all, Cloudburst Totem is about to pop. Is going to heal all the targets within 40 yard range, whatever. Your Cloudburst Totem is also going to be is going to pop at the same time that your Ancestral Guidance is going to pop. So Ancestral Guidance is going to buff your Cloudburst, basically your Cloudburst healing. It's going to basically also affect 3 other targets, because that's how Ancestral Guidance works. And your Valence, even though your Valence doesn't buff your Cloudburst healing, it will basically take into account the overhealing from Cloudburst. It will take into account the overhealing from Ancestral Guidance, and also redistribute that to targets. So you have this crazy synergy between Cloudburst healing, between Ancestral Guidance healing, and your Valence healing. Like, that's why this combination is insanely strong, and that's why you want to have a macro of Ancestral Guidance and Valence that you can use when you have 10 seconds remaining in your Cloudburst Totem. Now, in this same case scenario, if you actually had High Tide, you would not be using healing surges. You will basically be spamming Chain Heal. You'll basically be using Chain Heal. You won't have to worry about getting Tidal Wave procs, because you won't be using Tidal Wave procs on healing surges. You'll be basically just spamming Chain Heal for the whole duration. Again, you'll make sure that you use your artifact ability with the 10 seconds remaining, then you'll pop your Ancestral Guidance again with Valence, and then you'll be spamming Chain Heal, Chain Heal, Chain Heal. So that, and also making sure that your healing rain is down as well. You need to make sure your healing rain is down as well. But it's a lot simpler. But let's say you want to use Ascendance as well. So in terms of whether you should be using Ancestral Guidance and Ascendance and Cloudburst Totem at the same time, it's up to you to decide. There is quite a few fights in Antorus where you might need that insane burst. I personally, on a lot of different fights, I prefer like using my Ancestral Guidance with Cloudburst Totem, and then using my Ascendance with Cloudburst Totem later down the line, because a lot of the boss fights in Antorus might have a damage pattern similar to, like, you know, there's a lot of damage now, then there's damage in the next 20 seconds, and there's damage in the next 30 seconds. So you maybe want to spread it out, but if you know there's going to be a huge burst coming, you can use Ascendance and Ancestral Guidance together for like insane Cloudburst healing. So let's look at how that would look like. Now, you have to make sure that, you have to know that Ascendance is 15 seconds long. The buff lasts for 15 seconds, Cloudburst lasts for 15 seconds, so basically you want to make sure that Ascendance is going to be there for the duration of your Cloudburst Totem. So you would cast Cloudburst Totem, and the next thing you would cast is Chain Heal. Why do I cast Chain Heal? Because if you cast Chain Heal, I mentioned before, you can cast Ascendance right after, and your Chain Heal is going to be buffed by Ascendance, and you're going to get a couple of more seconds of Ascendance, which is win-win situation, and you're basically going to have a full duration of Ascendance inside Cloudburst Totem with this combination as well. Snapshotting exists in this scenario. So, you cast a Cloudburst Totem, you cast your Chain Heal, then you pop your Ascendance. You use Chain Heals to generate Tidal Waves. You want to make sure that you have 2 Tidal Waves when you have 10 seconds remaining on a Cloudburst. And then if you want to pop your Ancestral Guidance, you pop your Ancestral Guidance after you use your artifact ability. Use the same combination. Use the same combination like I mentioned before. Use your artifact ability, use your Ancestral Guidance with Valence, and then you make sure that your healing rain is down, and then you should have 2 Tidal Waves, and then you're spamming healing surges. You're spamming healing surges when you have Tidal Waves. If you don't have Tidal Waves down, you're spamming Chain Heal. And once you have your Tidal Waves, you're spamming healing surges. So it's basically the same kind of rotation. It's the same kind of rotation. It's just important to know that when you pop your Cloudburst, you want to use a Chain Heal and then pop Ascendance. It'll save you a couple of seconds of extra healing from Ascendance. And like I mentioned, you basically use Chain Heal, even if it's not High Tide. You basically use Chain Heal to generate Tidal Waves and use healing surges. If you're using High Tide, you just spam Chain Heal. And this has been an overview of what the most optimal Cloudburst healing potential could look like. Snapshotting, like the big important part here, Ancestral Guidance with Valence works amazingly well. Make sure you have the macro. If you want to use Ascendance, like if you're using Ascendance, you want to use Chain Heal for Tidal Wave procs and then use Healing Surge. If you're not using Ascendance, you just basically want to spam Chain Heal. And like I mentioned before, the awesome combo with the Artifact ability. This and then Ancestral Guidance. Now, you don't always have to use Artifact ability inside the Cloudburst. If someone's about to die or if people taking a lot of damage and you can't keep up, and your Cloudburst Totem is on cooldown, yeah, you're probably going to be using Artifact ability just to make sure to save some mana and to save some people, to save some AoE healing as well. It doesn't always have to be in Cloudburst, but if you know the damage patterns of a fight inside out, you will know exactly when you can use Cloudburst, and then you want to use this combination. You want to use this combination a lot. Like I mentioned, in this whole rotation, Riptide is not there. Riptide is not there. While Riptide still generates Tidal Wave procs, it does not provide as much healing potential as a Chain Heal would, and Chain Heal also gives you a Tidal Wave. But if you are trying to save mana, if you're not looking for the most optimal rotation, then yeah, you can use Riptide, you can use Healing Wave and things like that. But what I said before in this video, is all about the most optimal rotation for a Restoration Shaman, most optimal rotation to generate the most raw HPS into Cloudburst Totem. Remember, it does not have to be effective healing, at least for now. Battle for Azeroth is going to change. Now let's look at some combinations of legendaries that you might use that are very popular. Probably the most popular default choice in the game right now is Pridus and Valence. It works really great if you don't know the fight that well. It's a combination that's used for nearly every single fight. If you're looking to maybe optimize your healing, you can use the legs. Standing still causes you to send deep roots into the ground, healing you for 3% of your maximum health. So basically, the more HP you have, the more healing you're going to do to yourself. The more healing you do to yourself, that healing goes into your Cloudburst Totem. So basically, this is a great legendary to use if you know that you won't have to move during your Cloudburst. If you know that you won't have to move during your Cloudburst, you can have even juicier Cloudburst healing. So movement is the key here, if you do not have to move. After that, you have choices like the Farseer Ring, which Farseer Ring is actually quite good. A lot of people tend to use it if you want extra spot healing. It'll give you the Echoes of Elements talent and the Echoes of Elements talents. You'll get additional Riptide, Healing, Stream Totem, Lava Burst. So you'll get more Riptides. Through Riptides, you'll get more Tidal Waves. Through Tidal Waves, you'll have stronger spot healing potential. So Farseer Ring is definitely still a good option to use if you know you need more spot healing. Even things like the Legendary Chest, can be a very good choice for certain fights. Legendary Chest Healing Rain has 50% chance to grant your Ascendance for 6 seconds. If you know your Ascendance is not going to be wasted, aka constant damage fights like Vari Machos, Legendary Chest can be a good combination for this as well. So there's quite a few legendaries that can work. If you're a beginner or if you're just looking for a default legendary build, Valence and Pridus, you cannot go wrong with that build. After that, you're kind of looking at boss specific legendaries. In terms of stat priority, because this is an advanced healing guide, you should be using splashy stat spreadsheet. In this spreadsheet, you input a log, like a log from a certain fight, and then the spreadsheet itself will determine the best, stats for you. You have to keep in mind things like Mastery, which increases the healing you do on targets that are lower. Like Mastery on fights like Agromar. If you're under healing Agromar, and Agromar people tend to dip like 20% HP for a lot of the times, and having really burst healing can work really well, and Mastery can work really well there. But for fights like Vari Machos, where most likely people are staying at 80% HP, Mastery can become your weakest stat. So it's really important to, use the spreadsheet and use the spreadsheet for different types of fights. Have a different type of gear, have a different, mastery gear, have a non-mastery gear and things like that. It's really important if you want to optimize your Restoration Shaman. So hopefully this was a decent overview of Resto Shaman tips and tricks, advanced guide. Let me know if I missed out on something. Let me know if this helped you out. Let me know how you feel about Restoration Shamans. And feel free to subscribe and like and all of that stuff. It really helps out the channel. It really helps out the channel to grow. Thank you for watching this guide, and I'll see you in my next video.